Okay, is this thing on? I'm gonna rank some classic movies in a tier list. The best of the best will be in horror. Under that will be the scariest, scarier, or just scary. And then the least scariest, or one that just didn't, just didn't catch my attention, or one that I thought was just the worst, trash. The one category you don't want to see yourself in is spooky. It's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. Alright. What do we got? Okay, let's just start off with, Child's Play. Child's Play was one about the killer doll. And it's about this dude, he knows voodoo. Voodoo or witchcraft, I don't know what it was. But to get away from the cops, he's in a shootout in the beginning of the movie. The shootout ends in a toy store. He finds a doll, which is it's not Chucky doll, it's called the good guy dolls. He finds the good guy doll and does his voodoo thing and transfers his soul into the doll, eventually becoming Chucky, the killer doll. The second sequel and on, the Child's Play movies became more, besides the first one, they're mostly comedy with a little horror. And when I was a kid, it scared the hell out of me because I was like, do my toys want to kill me? The original Child's Play, I'll put it in the middle. We got Carrie. I've seen the original Carrie, which is this one right here. And I've seen the remake, the one that came out in 2000 something. Which, by the way, the remake was just as good as the original. She goes to the prom. And I don't know, I guess they don't want her to be prom queen or something like that. And do some prank on her. They fill a bucket of pig's blood and they put it above the stage. So when she gets up there to accept some award, or she does, she gives a speech or something, I don't know, something that gets her on stage, they dump the pig's blood on her. Pisses her off. And I guess at that point she uses her, does she have powers? I don't know if she has powers or she uses witchcraft or something. But she gets pissed and all this stuff, all this supernatural stuff starts going haywire. And she starts like going after and killing the people that pranked her that night. That was the original Carrie. I'll put that right there with Chucky. Stephen King's It. Not the recent ones with Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. This is the one that came out in the 90s. This wasn't even actually a movie. It was a TV series that was released on TV. They released one episode one day. That episode was somewhere around 2 hours. And then they waited, I think maybe 3 days or a week later, they released the second part, which is also 2 hours. In total, it's almost about like a 4-hour miniseries. A miniseries of just 2 episodes of Pennywise. But yeah, we all know that famous scene where the little kid in the yellow coat, he reaches his hand down the drain and the clown kills him. Pennywise, Bob Gray. This one I would put in the middle right there. We got Leprechaun. So it's Leprechaun, and then just like the Child's Play movies, they made several sequels, but they're like ridiculous sequels. I don't remember the second one or what it was called. I think the third one, he's in Las Vegas. The fourth one, he's in outer space. The fifth one, I think he's in like the ghetto. And then the sixth one, he's still in the ghetto and like he's smoking some of that Alakazam. But Leprechaun, it's entertaining, but not like Child's Play. I put it right there in scary. Hellraiser. So this is the albino dude that has all the nails on his head. nails, nails, needles, whatever they are. The first one, I saw it once only. I didn't really like it. So it was about, I don't remember the story, but they find some Rubik's Cube thing. They open it up and I think it's like a portal to hell, or like they let the Hellraiser in reality or something like that. I don't know what happens, but I remember throughout the whole movie, there's some guy stuck in the attic, and he's like morphing into some sort of demon or some sort of slimy monster. I don't know, but Hellraiser, that guy, the pinhead, that guy with the needles on his head, like hardly comes out in the movie. I guess right there with Leprechaun. We got Tales from the Hood. And this one, it was kind of creepy when I saw it as a kid. It's about these three gangsters. They go to some house and they meet the guy in the house, and the guy in the house, he tells them all these spooky stories. So the entire movie is like, I think it was 3 or 4 different mini stories that the guy tells the gangsters, and then at the end, like all the stories, they like come together and they combine. It's really good. If you watch it today, it's entertaining. I remember one of the mini stories in Tales from the Hood that I liked was the one about the racist politician, and he's in his house, and then he's being like hunted or killed by like all these little mini voodoo puppets. It's kind of creepy. I'll put that right there with Hellraiser and Leprechaun. What else we got? We got my favorite horror movie of all time. Of all time. I got no words for it. Halloween is at the top. If I were to make a top 10 list of horror movies, this is just a tier list. Top 10, 1 through 10. I didn't even gotta think twice about it. Halloween, 1978's Halloween will be my number 1. Michael Myers. This movie scared me as I was a kid. It scared me as I was in middle school. It scared me in kindergarten, high school, college. It scares me today. If I'm watching it at night, I need to have a light on, or I need to have someone in the room with me. There's just something about the white mask that Mikey wears. It's just creepy. Like, I'll be watching it and then I'll be looking in the doorway and it's dark, and I don't know, I just get this psyche thing that I'll see like his white mask slowly appearing in the doorway. Okay, Wishmaster. So I was on the streaming services, Hulu, Netflix, Max, Stars. I always go to the horror section. I like horror movies. And Wishmaster always popped up. Wishmaster, another one was Mimic and Phantasm. But Wishmaster, I saw it on there and I was like, this movie, I see it on every streaming service that I open. Let me watch it. So I saw it, and so it's about, I don't know what the guy, I think he's like a warlock or a wizard, an evil wizard or something. I don't know what the plot was, but throughout the movie, he tells people to make a wish. Like, if I remember this one wish. I don't know if it was a dude or a girl, but they wish to be, I think it was to be in better shape or to lose weight or something like that. And the guy's like, all right, wish granted. But the way he does it to make them lose the weight, like their belly fat, it'll get sliced off and it'll be exposed like with blood and stuff, and like weight, like body fat on their arms, it would like melt off. The weight would be coming off, but like in bloody ways. They want to lose weight, and he's removing the weight off of them like that. Not one I'll watch again. I put it in spooky. I didn't really like that one at all. The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. So The Fly. This one came out in the 1980s. It seems old. But this was actually a remake of the original Fly, the one from 1950 something. I didn't see that one, but I saw The Fly, the remake. Jeff Goldblum is in this one. Jeff Goldblum's character has like two pods. He puts something in one pod, he pushes buttons on his computer, it disappears from that pod and it appears in the other pod, like transportation. So he tries to take it to the next level. So he puts himself in the pod to see if his body can transfer into the second one. So he does that, but before the pod door closes shut, a fly gets in there. So he gets transferred from that pod into the other pod, but he didn't know that the fly was in there. So the fly transferred with him. So when he emerges from the second pod, his DNA and the fly's DNA merged. Long story short, after that, throughout the movie, he turns into a life-size fly. It's kind of gross. I put that right there in scary. People are probably going to hate me for this ranking. Friday the 13th. I'm putting Friday the 13th in scary. Just above spooky. I'll tell you why. Because if you look at the poster for Friday the 13th right here, it's all black and it's a silhouette of it looks like a dude holding a knife. But here's the thing. Jason Voorhees didn't come out until the sequel, Friday the 13th Part 2. The original Friday the 13th, which is this one, it was his mom killing everybody. And the poster is a lie. I don't think his mom was a dude because the silhouette is a dude. You can tell. It's not a woman or a lady. It's a dude. And then you think of Friday the 13th, you think of Jason Voorhees. You don't think of his mom. I just didn't like Friday the 13th. I don't like any of the Friday the 13th movies. Any of them. Not even Freddy vs. Jason, Jason X. The remake was okay. Children of the Corn. The leader of the children in that movie was kind of corny. The way he spoke. And you gotta watch the movie to, I don't know, hearing him speak to his followers, his children followers. The way he spoke was kind of corny. It's about this couple. They're driving, I think, cross country. They're going through the town, some abandoned town. And they get there, and then I think they have car trouble. I don't remember. But they eventually go around the town, and the town is deserted. They eventually go into a building or a house to see if anybody's there. And eventually they get encountered by those killer kids, demonic kids, those brainwashed kids, whatever they were. Like a little girl kid, like I guess survived. She has like a hatchet or a machete or something. And she sneaks up behind them. And she says something that was like really funny or corny. You will die now. Or she says a corny line. I put that in scary. Misery. It's a good movie. Just watch it. You like horror? Just watch it. Misery was about a dude. He's an author. And I don't know where he's driving to, but it's during a blizzard or a snowstorm or whatever. You know where I'm going with this. He gets stranded. He falls off a cliff or something, or he hits something due to the snowstorm. And then he eventually gets a lady finds him, and she takes him back to her house. Turns out the lady is his biggest fan of his books. So she keeps him in her house. She like takes care of him, gives him food, water, anything he needs. She also tells him to write a sequel to one of his books, and she wants him to write the sequel about her. Like she wants herself to be the star in his book that she wants him to write. So he's hesitant at first, but then he starts writing the book because She starts beating him. She breaks his legs eventually. I think he's in a wheelchair. I think she injects him with shots or whatever. It's a good movie. That one I put right there with, yeah, right there. The Silence of the Lambs. Hannibal Lecter, the cannibal. Hello, Clarice. She needs to find a serial killer that's on the loose, and they can't find him. So to find the serial killer, she needs to think like the serial killer. What will he do next, and where will he be, and stuff like that. So she goes to, I think it was a prison, where Hannibal Lecter is, another serial killer. She goes to him so that he can help her think like a serial killer. So Hannibal Lecter can help Clarice find the serial killer that she's after. So she went to a serial killer for advice to catch a serial killer. I mean, what better way to catch a serial killer than to think like a serial killer by just asking the serial killer what he thinks. How many times have I said serial killer? Yeah, it's a good movie. Hannibal Lecter eventually escapes, and then they made the sequel to that. I think the sequel was just called Hannibal, which is pretty good also. That one was really good. I'll put that in scariest. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I'm saying it like that because there's been so many remakes. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, I think a third one, and then after that they remade the original, I think in 2003, which was called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then they made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre the beginning, and then they remade it again, they rebooted it again, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then I think they rebooted it again, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then again Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D, and then they came out with another one that was just called Leatherface. I think that was just like the origins of how he became who he became. I'm not talking about any of those. I'm talking about the original one. The original one. That one was good. The whole, just how they make the movie, just watching it's kind of like creepy. It has like that creepy nostalgia to it. Like he's in his, I think this is the one where he's in his, I don't know what, his tuxedo or the jacket he was wearing, like kind of like creepy-ish. This one I'll put right there in scarier. The Evil Dead. The Evil Dead I thought was a great movie. I saw the remake also, which came out in 2010 and above, somewhere in that decade. But the remake was just as good as the original Evil Dead. It's about Ash. I'm sure everybody knows who Ash is. So Ash and his friends, they go to a cabin, and they end up reading from a book called, I think it was the Book of the Dead. They read from it, which resurrects all these demons from the ground. Okay, and it eventually haunts them, kills his group, whatever. And Ash uses that chainsaw. It's a very gory movie. Both the movies were gory, the original and the remake. Very good. Great movies. Great movies. Put that in scariest, just below horror. We got Scream. Okay. The original Scream came out in the 90s. That movie was just so original. The plot, the best Scream of the Scream series, Scream franchise. I'm not spoiling it. I'm sure everybody has seen Scream. The killers are Billy Loomis and Skeet Ulrich. But yeah, that one I have to put it next to Halloween. Scream is just a very original horror movie. Alien. Alien at first, I was hesitant to put it in this tier list because Alien, you think the word alien, it's sci-fi. But according to Wikipedia, IDMB, whatever that movie website is, that and other online websites, They have it as horror. And then the sequels were sci-fi action. I think just the first Alien, which this one is, the original Alien, I think this one was just horror. I remember the tagline for the film was, "In space, no one can hear you scream." He injects you with aliens. The alien explodes out of your rib cage, and it's on their ship. And eventually, very quickly, like within hours, it goes from a tiny alien to like the big ass xenomorph, the one with the big sausage head. I put that one right next to Evil Dead and The Silence of the Lambs. The Shining. The Shining takes place, I think, during winter, during that blizzard. And it's always during cold weather that I'm like, man, I think I'm gonna watch The Shining today. The Shining is really good. It's like a great movie. It's a little long though. It's just it's between 2 to 3 hours, almost the 3 hour mark. I don't know. Maybe it is 3 hours. I don't know. This dude and his wife and his kid, they go up to a hotel. I guess to be. The dad takes a job as, I think, a caretaker of the hotel. He starts hallucinating, and eventually the spirits, I guess, take over him. He's just a bad dude throughout the movie, trying to kill his family with I think it was an axe. Here's Johnny, not John Cena, but this guy. I gotta put that up there with Halloween and Scream. A Nightmare on Elm Street. Check out the poster. The poster's kind of funky looking. You fall asleep. The guy with the burnt skin, the Christmas sweater, and the sombrero is gonna come after you. He's gonna try and kill you. If you fall asleep and there's a guy trying to kill you, you have to wake up. Because if you die in your nightmare, if you die in your dream, you die in reality. You have to wake up. If you wake up, Freddy Krueger, the killer, he can't harm you. But this one, I would put right there with Alien and Evil Dead. And last but not least, we have The Exorcist. The Exorcist is probably in almost 90% of everybody's top 10 horror movies. Some people can have it their number one. Some people will probably have it in their top 5. On the cover of the poster, you can't see it there, but on the cover of the poster it says the scariest movie of all time. At the time, it probably was, because it scared the hell of a lot of people. I mean, they had to like cut scenes out of the movie because it was too disturbing for viewers. And they eventually re-released it with like all the footage, and that version was even scarier than the original. The possessed girl, Reagan, she does a spider walk going downstairs, and then when she gets to the bottom, upside down, she like opens her mouth and like blood like pours out of her mouth. Ugh, creepy movie. You know what? It's in almost everybody's top 10, like I said. I'll put it up there with horror. And there we go. I ranked 20 classic movies, with the worst being Wishmaster. I don't ever want to see that movie again, or any of its sequels. But my favorite of all of these was Halloween, The Night He Came Home. I made a tier list of horror movies. Hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like. And thanks for watching.